My name is Chris Manns, also known as the Fearless Flatliner, professional wrestler. I've survived colitis, ulcerative colitis, which is a disease which infects the colon and can affect the intestines also. I've had my colon removed, I now have a J pouch.
So obviously you have been doing wrestling for quite a while now. When did you start getting into wrestling and how?
I used to love wrestling as a kid. Do you know what I mean? I used to go and watch this before the boom of Sky TV and Hulk Hogan and all that. I like Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks. I've got pictures of them around my house and stuff. That was a real big influence. I used to go and watch it, like Southampton Guildhall. It's just something that I started watching in 1988 when I was 10. But of course, watched it up to a point, and then got to about 15, hormones started kicking in, and I started going down the gym, and I started getting into bodybuilding. And then one day I was in a gym and there was a ring next door. Someone hired the space for a ring, and I went, wow, wrestling, And by this point I'd shaved my head. So wrestling's been now I think nearly 18 years, and it don't seem like that. You know what I mean? It really don't. Well, I was fine all the way through childhood to a point, and then I caught. I was in assembly at school, and I felt the need to go to the bathroom. But you know what? I mean, school is a tough place for any kid, especially senior school. And also my father was a policeman, so I used to get a little bit of grief for that. And I was always a big kid, but I was pretty placid, do you know what I mean? But now I was sat in assembly at school, I was like, oh, got the urge to use a loo, and you're like, hang on, how can I get out of this one? So I feigned asthma attack and legged it to the toilet. And then of course I'd be in a lesson, I'd be like, oh God, I need the loo, I need a. You don't want to be known as the kid that's like, Chris that, craps his pants or what have you. So you were kind of on edge about it. And also, that age, you don't help yourself with diet. Basically, GM crap. I wouldn't really help him myself. Eventually went to the doctors, and he put me on a drug, a corticosteroid. So not an anabolic steroid, not a muscle building steroid, but a steroid that helps your immune system called prednisolone. So I was on this steroid with no break for 6 years. Then I was still bad, still feeling ill. At this point I'm still wrestling. So they prescribed this medication, and I was allergic to it. It turns out to be the antidote. They diagnosed me with colitis.
How long did it affect your wrestling career?
It was there was always occasional tours I'd have to cancel on. This is when I had colitis badly, do you know what I mean? But in the end, the whole disease just took over my life. I ended up, first of all, I had a neurovirus on my liver, they said, probably somehow caused by colitis. So, so I caught this neurovirus. I came out of hospital from that. A few days later, I woke up in the middle of the night, freezing cold, and couldn't breathe very well. Put a jacket on, got in bed, put another duvet on top. Still, I woke up again. I'm shivering like mad. And phone 999, and they said, you've got pneumonia, and we're going to put you in an induced sleep. And I'm like, oh right, what's that? Kind of like a coma. They went, And I was out for 7 days. I think I was out in a coma. Like an idiot, I was wrestling 2 months later. Do you know what I mean? Because just the draw of it and just the fun of it. But went back for a visit with my doctor, and he's like, we've tried everything now, different drugs, what have you. I think the only option we've got left now is to remove your colon. So straight away I was like, what? That means I've got to have a bag then? And he went, yeah, but it's not permanent. It'll be for 6 weeks, and then they'll make what's called a J pouch. They'll take your colon out, pull your intestine down, loop it back onto itself, and then you'll have this little pouch inside you, and that'll work, and you'll be good as new. And next minute now, I've been in bed for over a couple of months. I've had something like 6 operations. Do you know what I mean? I'm just tubes sticking out of me. Once I got myself sort of back to reasonable health, I'm that all I was ringing up the hospital, which was when I'm going to get this reversal operation. And basically I had the bag for 3 years, do you know what I mean? Well, it was a bit longer than 6 weeks, wasn't it? But so in the long term it's all, and like I said, since then I've been going back to Germany. I wrestled for WWE, just on a Raw and SmackDown, but I was part of the performance. The dream was to get there, but I got there. I said, when I'm on a club door, people go, you're a wrestler, you ever work for WWE? He used to say, oh no, I've worked many people from WWE. Must be crap then. All right then, mate. There's nothing I can say to that. But now when you go, oh yeah, I've wrestled for Raw and SmackDown. Oh really? Yeah, once. Do you know what I mean? But I've done it. Do you know what I mean? So like, in the end, everything's pretty cool. My life's gone back to pretty much normal. Okay, I'm still a bit tired and I have to use the bathroom more often than everyone else. But, and I have to take tablets before I eat. I have to take codeine, loperamide, and colsevalam. I have to take 3 types of tablet, but that's a much better alternative to having, having to have a ileostomy bag, life's sweet. It's all good. I tried to go back to work as soon as I could because I've always worked door work. That was off, but I went back probably too soon because I was just fed up of doing nothing. I sat in hospital bed for ages. So I went back to work as a waiter at a restaurant I was working at the time. So I went back to the restaurant. There was no empathy or, I sat down with the manager and said, look, I can still do the waitering. I can still, talk to the guests and take the food out and take an order, but I can't do all the lugging the glassware and, well, that's the job. You know what I mean? I've always been doing loads of things. So to suddenly that was the hardest thing, was boredom. Do you know what I mean? I want to go out and do things. I mean, one minute I was catching like 2-3 aeroplanes a month. Now I'm like sat here, watching Loose Women. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a come down. So work was just, was off for the first, I didn't work for a couple of years.
What kind of media coverage have you had?
I did, first thing I did was Trisha. Thank Christ it wasn't Jeremy Kyle, do you know what I mean? Trisha was still middle class, respectable back then. So that was the first thing I did. That was on about because I retired from stripping to wrestling because it was safer. Absolute nonsense. All little bits coming. I've done music videos, do you know what I mean? For like, no major bands, but stuff it's all on the internet. Last sort of big, last big thing I did was probably wrestled Bradley Walsh. They did a nostalgia TV program about stuff from the 70s and 80s. That's some real good fun with it all, Well, fingers crossed I'll carry on going, keep wrestling for a good while yet, I mean, I'm a comedy wrestler. I do comedy mainly. I like making the kids smile, that's the main thing, I mean? If a lot of wrestlers are doing it for the kids and for the fans, and they're doing it for the wrong reasons. But at the same time, I can still help other people that have had the same illness that I've had, and spread a little bit of awareness about colitis and people that have got colostomies or ileostomies. And if I can help then and help a little bit more awareness about it and make it a little bit more acceptable, then that's great too. But do you know what I mean? I've been miserable. I had 3 years of pure misery, so I'm just happy being happy. Do you know what I mean? There ain't a lot that really gets me too down. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, live long and prosper.